My name is Jack Dash, and I am a horticulturist at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. This is the ironwood tree, and its scientific name is Olneya tesota. It's really one of the most important species in the Sonoran Desert. It's what we'd call a keystone species. The range of ironwood matches up almost perfectly with the extent of the Sonoran Desert, so it's a real indicator that you are in the Sonoran Desert. It's a tree that is in the bean family, similar to mesquite or palo verde. And the nice thing about trees in the bean family is they actually have a bacteria that lives in the roots that takes atmospheric nitrogen and turns it into plant-available fertilizer. So not only does this tree sort of create its own fertilizer, every time it drops leaves, shed roots, drops flowers or beans, that nitrogen is seeping into the soil around it, and so other plants are gonna thrive. Additionally, trees like ironwood, mesquite, have these deep roots that pull moisture up from a deeper strata of the soil and bring it up closer to the surface, which makes it available for other species. And then, perhaps most importantly in the Sonoran Desert, it's evergreen. So it provides some year-round shade during the hot part of the summer, and that canopy is going to mitigate extremes of cold or heat. So plants are able to thrive around it that might not be able to thrive in open spaces. So a tree like an ironwood creates what I like to call an island of fertility, where you're going to have a little bit of higher biodiversity right in immediate proximity to this species. This massive ironwood is possibly hundreds of years old. In fact, it was here before this entire plaza was built, and the designers built this whole structure around it. And one of the great things about a large, lightly pruned ironwood like this is that it creates such an oasis for other species, insects, and animals to thrive. If you want to envision the flowers, they look a little bit like your standard garden pea or bean plant that you might have in a veggie garden. It's going to have that same shape. The flowers are kind of lavender and white. They're actually incredibly delicate and incredibly lovely. And that's one of the great things about so many of these desert species. They can seem so intimidating and tough at first, but when they put on that floral display, they're absolutely stunning. And this is a tree that's going to bloom kind of in the late spring, early summer. So it blooms during that period of time where everything's so hot, so dry, and these flowers really kind of alleviate that early summer heat. These beans are an important food source for wildlife in this area, and they've also been eaten by humans for thousands of years. They're really good if you boil them to remove the tannins, and then you can roast them, and their flavor is quite a bit like peanuts. This is a fantastic tree for urban environments for a number of reasons. One, it's incredibly drought and heat tolerant. Our urban spaces tend to have a lot of reflected heat from concrete, pavement, metal, etc. This tree is going to have no problem with that. It's not going to tax your water bill substantially because it is so drought tolerant. During the cool months, it needs very little water. During the warm months, you can irrigate it to encourage good, lush growth. And it's going to have that same island of fertility effect in a landscape that it would have in a natural environment. So using an ironwood as a centerpiece, you can plant other shrubs, cacti, succulents in the vicinity, and it will create microclimates that will benefit those species as well. It's possible they can reach anywhere between 20 to 30 feet high and wide. So the first thing to do is really envision the long-term growth of this tree and try and plant it in an appropriate location. That will necessitate significantly less pruning. Over-pruning can be problematic because it can make trees heavier at the top and more prone to blowing over during monsoon storms. Additionally, you're going to lose a lot of that shade and wildlife value that makes it such a great tree in the first place. There are a number of trees worldwide that have the common name ironwood, and one of the things they all share in common is that their wood is incredibly dense. So I've read that, essentially a foot section of mature ironwood trunk can weigh in the neighborhood of 80 pounds. The wood is actually so heavy that it will sink in water. It's not buoyant at all. So the name is really apt to describe the incredible density of this wood. It's another reason not to prune. You're going to dull a saw on this thing very quickly. I like the calming effect that natural ecosystems have on every human nervous system. I think one of my favorite things is actually taking other people out into the desert or into our Sky Island mountain ranges and really just watching sort of the weight of the world kind of wash off of them. It's obviously been, heavily documented and scientifically proven at this point that we as human beings really do benefit mentally, and I think many people would say spiritually, from access to and presence in nature.